All right, let's close the book on Monday Night Football and get into a ton of the waiver wire with the running back specifically.
Yes,
and we will get into every position group today. But starting with the running backs on the waiver wire, we got Thursday Night Football. And boy, if Jonathan Taylor can't go, is it the Nyheim Hines show right now? Available in 38% of Yahoo leagues. He is only RB41 on the season, averaging a little bit over 7 points per game. They got Denver on deck. The targets I don't think have been what we were hoping for consistently in the pass game. But can Hines step into that role if Taylor can't go?
No.
Right? He's just not built that way. It's not that kind of runner.
They'll activate Philip Lindsay. I think they actually did this morning
Sure.
Off of the practice squad. I think you'll see a committee here. The fact of the matter is Jonathan Taylor hasn't been Jonathan Taylor. Like, the offensive line has really struggled this week. We talked about this. So far through 4 weeks, Jonathan Taylor, capital letters, consensus number 1 pick overall, Jonathan Taylor, has not been a top 20 fantasy running back through the first 4 weeks. So now you're asking Nyheim Hines, who's obviously built very differently, to go on the road on a short week at Denver and be that guy? I don't think he is. Do I think Nyheim Hines will be usable in fantasy this week? I do, because I think that's what's going to happen against Denver. I think you're going to have to do some dump-off passes there. He does have 5 or more targets in 3 out of 4 games so far this season in his career, in games in which he's gotten double-digit touches, and my expectation is he will get double-digit touches on Thursday night. He's averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game. So do I think Nyheim Hines is usable this week? I do. Do I think he replaces Jonathan Taylor? I don't. And if I'm going to the waiver wire this week, I think he's usable. I think he's probably the most obvious guy for this week. You know what I mean? Nyheim Hines, in terms of hey, I need somebody for this week. Him or possibly Tyler Allgeier, who we'll talk about in a second. But, but I think there are other guys that have more upside long term. Also, doesn't sound like Taylor's injury is all that serious.
Yeah, the tests on the ankle were negative. As we sit here and do this show, he could still play Thursday night.
Right.
Which makes
so
it
I
even
would
more
not
complicated.
if I've been holding on to, depending on how you run your waivers in your league. I would not, if you've been holding on to the number 1 waiver spot, I'm not blowing it for Nyheim Hines. I wouldn't go crazy with my fab budget as well. So, but do I think he gets an expanded role on Thursday night, even if Taylor plays? Because if the ankle's not 100%, I do. It's a tough matchup on the road at Denver. So I think Nyheim Hines will be usable this week in fantasy. That's about as far as I'm willing to go, Connor. By the way, he does not care about your fantasy team.
No.
He does not.
He made sure to let you know.
He tweeted that out. I do. When will people learn? We don't care about your fantasy team's laughing emoji. And I will say this to Nyheim Hines. He is 100% right. NFL players should never care about fantasy teams. What Nyheim Hines should worry about is the fact that his team is 0-2-1 in the division. He should focus on that.
Yeah,
that's what he should focus on. Don't worry about our fantasy teams, Nyheim. Worry about the fact that you guys missed the playoffs last year and you're 0-2-1 in the division.
One player they might have to worry about on Thursday night, Mike Boone. Available in 98% of leagues.
Yeah, Boone's Farm, baby.
Yeah, unfortunately, Javonte Williams.
Have you ever drank Boone's Farm?
No.
Boone's Farm was I'm an older guy. So I'm older than you. So Boone's Farm was one of those super cheap. I don't even know if it even exists anymore. But someone look that up. Does Blake? I'm getting research on this. Does Boone's Farm still exist? But it was super cheap. When you were in college. When I was in college, and you had no money, and you're just trying to you're
30 rack for $5.
Oh, yeah. Boone's Farm was exactly.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm was one of those,
When we get off, I'm going to do some digging and see what we could find. And Boone's Farm is still alive and well.
Listen, I'm not saying it was good, but it did the job. You understand? If you're I want to get drunk and I don't have a lot of money to spend, Boone's Farm was your ticket. Have we gotten any research? Does it still exist?
Boone's Farm is alive and well.
Boone's Farm is $3 a bottle. In today's prices, that's a... Boone's Farm, we're still looking for sponsors here at the Fantasy Football
Boone's
Happy
Farm
Hour.
tap.
I'm just telling you. By the way, we do one Boone's Farm in segment 1, and we'd be loaded by segment 2. It'd be fantastic.
All right, Boone's Farm, Mike Boone, available in 98% of leagues. When he came in after Javonte Williams got hurt, he had 65% of the snaps compared to Melvin Gordon, who had 35% of the snaps. He was in on 6 of the 7 third and fourth down situations. Do you buy in that there might be some pass game opportunity when you see that with him? And when you look at Boone, is he one of the top guys on the waiver this week? We know they will never give up on Melvin Gordon. We know that.
That's the problem. Hackett absolutely loves him. They trust Melvin Gordon more in pass protection. They're unfortunately going to have to live with the fumbles, and they're going to hope he cleans that up. Now, the Broncos have signed Latavius Murray off of the Saints practice squad. Again, it's a Thursday night game. The expectation here is that Murray will not be active in time for Thursday night. Like, he's just going to get there. Still needs to learn a few plays. So on Thursday night, it is going to be Melvin Gordon. It's going to be Mike Boone. Maybe you'll see a little bit of Divine Ozigbo, formerly of Jacksonville. Yeah. He's now on the Broncos as well. So you see him mixed in there as well. But in the fact is that after Javonte Williams went down, Mike Boone played 65% of the snaps. He's had 3 career games with 12 or more touches. He's averaging 15.3 fantasy points per game. Now, I think had they not signed Latavius Murray, I'd have been like, yeah, let's go all in. Let's go farming on Boone's farm, right? Drink up.
Bargain drinking.
Bargain drinking on Boone's farm. But the concern here is Latavius Murray, and I'm worried that this might be a little bit of a 3-headed monster. Again, I think Mike Boone is going to be, and I'll have him ranked higher than Nyheim Hines just for Thursday night. For week 5, I will prefer Boone to Nyheim Hines because I think there's a better chance at a touchdown for Boone. I think it'll be a near even split, 1A and 1B to him and Melvin Gordon in a decent matchup with the Colts at home against the Colts. But I'm nervous about Latavius Murray coming in and stealing some touches from Boone. This could be a 3-headed monster on an offense that, candidly, Connor still hasn't found itself.
I think that's
scoring
the big
a ton
issue.
Of points.
Yes. Well, Javonte is a special player.
Correct.
And can overcome the deficiencies of that offense. This isn't a plug-and-play offense that, hey, Mike Boone's next guy up, run and get him and expect the same production.
No, 100%. I mean, what's interesting, though, is that I think Boone's more of a pass. I mean, Melvin Gordon's a decent pass catcher, but, Boone also plays some on third downs as well. And so there's now a decent amount of target share that's available with Javonte Williams. Again, we talked about this at the end of last show, but if you missed that, case the news, it was confirmed. Torn ACL for Javonte Williams. His season is over, so prayers on a speedy recovery for Javonte Williams. But there's more targets now to go around. I'm nervous about Russell Wilson here. Feels like, and I know Judy, had a better game last week than he did, but honestly, the only guy that I feel super confident in starting in the Broncos offense right now is Courtland Sutton, and I think the running backs are both flex, sort of hope for a touchdown flexes in Gordon and Boone, very close together in that order. Deeper leagues, take a flyer on Latavius Murray. You're not going to use him this week, but if you're looking for somebody this week, I mean, both Boone and Latavius Murray have more value today than they did 48 hours ago.
This next one surprised me. Raheem Mostert available in half of all leagues right now. Plays in a great offense. We understand that Tua is going to be out for a little bit, but Teddy comes in, one of the more reliable backups in the league. Raheem Mostert, once again, available in half of leagues. He is RB46 on the year, but he wasn't a factor week 1 at all. So take that with a grain of salt right now as you see the game log there.
But as you look on your screen, right? Offensive snap percentage. Week 1, 42%. Then 55%, 56%, 72%. Again, this is a guy who had a major injury in week 1 of last year. Getting healthier, getting more familiar with the system in Miami. Obviously, some familiarity with it because he played for Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. But still going on.
Yeah.
But again, getting healthier, getting more confident. They're seeing that explosiveness come back for Raheem Mostert. He's had 14 or more touches in 2 of the last 3 games here.
That jumps out to me.
And the other 2 things that's I think really interesting is that in week 4, 73% of the running back snaps. That was again a game that the Dolphins were that was a game that they were really in on with Cincinnati, right? And even though they were down, like they were it was close and then they were down, and so with Bridgewater under center. And that's what's going to happen again this Sunday. The news came out, Tua Tagovailoa is going to miss this Sunday's game against the New York Jets. Raheem Mostert, 7 of 11 on 3rd and 4th down on those snaps. He played 7 of the 11 3rd and 4th down snaps. And he had 3 of the 5 snaps inside the 10. So he is on the right side of a committee for one of the better offenses in the NFL. And knowing that they're going from Tua Tagovailoa to Teddy Bridgewater, we don't know how long Bridgewater's going to have the gig, but check down Teddy a little bit. Like, regardless of even if they open it up a little bit, because whatever, Bridgewater took some shots on Thursday night. But still, it's going to be a more conservative offense with Bridgewater than it was with Tua. And so is there more emphasis on the run game and getting those guys involved, more short passing as well? And so Raheem Mostert is available, as you mentioned, 50% of Yahoo leagues. If I'm looking rest of the season and he's out there in my league, give me Mostert over the Mike Boone and Nyheim Hines of the world, or even Latavius Murray's. Like I think he's the number one running back pickup for the rest of the season, I should say, if he's available in your league.
Sure, he's not injury dependent. That's another great thing about Mostert. And the upcoming schedule: at the Jets, against the Vikings, against the Steelers, and then at Detroit.
Yeah.
So a good spot for Raheem Mostert in the next 4. Let's move to Rashad White with the Bucs. We talked about this yesterday, that Lenny always dealing with something. Feels like this is the time where Rashad White can get involved a little bit. Byron Leftwich said exactly that. It's time to get him more involved. Season high 8 touches in week 4. He did have the touchdown. Available in 73% of leagues.
5 catches for 50 yards. I mean, so they've been using him some on third down. And if you watch that game against the Chiefs, which was right here on NBC and Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man. We always have the best games every week.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's
indisputable.
There's no arguing that.
No, there's no arguing.
You watch football, you know that.
You obviously, know that. Like, there's really, if you've learned only 2 things from today's show, it's that, the best game of the week is always on Sunday night on NBC and Peacock, and you can get a bottle of Boone's Farm for $3. What?
And it still exists.
It still exists. That's what we do here. We drop knowledge. All right, so Rashad White's talented. They like him a lot in Tampa Bay. And so my point was, if you watch that game, Rashad White, not only you mentioned about the 8 touches, but those were meaningful touches. That wasn't just in the blowout. They were, he was out there with Brady. He's been out there with Brady. His snaps have increased. They're using him more and more. He's earning Tom's trust. And so that's a huge thing. It's still Leonard Fournette's show. So I don't know that Rashad White is usable yet. In a week in which Fournette is healthy, I can't see Rashad White as a flex. So if you need a guy for this week, you're better off with the Boones or the Hines of the world. But I do think if you're just trying to look, hey, I'm looking for upside, for long-term upside, I think Rashad White needs to be rostered in 100% of leagues, because Leonard Fournette is rostered in 100% of leagues. And we'd expect that if anything were to happen to Leonard Fournette, who has dealt with injuries in his past, Rashad White would get the majority of the work and be productive on one of the better offenses in the NFL. So, again, given how brutal the running back position is, I've always been a big believer in insurance backs for your high-end guys when you know specifically who it would be. Again, with Jonathan Taylor, I think you'll see some Hines, you'll see some Deion Jackson, see some Phil Lindsay.
It's a bad offense
right now. It's a bad offense, right. But here, the Buccaneers are a better offense, especially with other pass catchers back now, and yes, it would be Rashad White if anything happened to Uncle Lenny.
Looking at one of the biggest rushing performances of the week, the Falcons. It was a combined effort from Tyler Allgeier, rookie running back, available in 83% of leagues. Caleb Huntley, available in essentially every single league. The big news here, Barry, for me, Cordarrelle Patterson on the IR with a knee injury. There's going to be a couple weeks where these guys are significantly involved with a team that does not want Marcus Mariota to throw the football.
They do not. They've run the ball effectively.
Yes.
Now, they're at Tampa Bay this week, which you wouldn't love that matchup generally, but the Chiefs just ran all over them. So maybe there is some success there. Atlanta has had more success running the ball, I think, than people thought. Even though Mariota has struggled in the passing game, just the fact that he has that mobility Mariota does, they have to keep a spy on him when you're playing defensively against the Falcons, which opens up running lanes. We've seen it for Patterson. He goes on IR. He's going to be out for at least the next 4 weeks. Damian Williams not eligible to return until next week, week 6. So that means at least for this week, it's going to be the Tyler Allgeier and Caleb Huntley show. For me, I rank them that way, Allgeier and Huntley. Clearly, both guys are going to be involved. But after Cordarrelle Patterson went down, Allgeier led the team in snaps after CPAT went down. He's had double-digit carries in 2 of the last 3 games here. Huntley, by the way, but 10 for 56, had a touchdown. He got he only played 12 total snaps.
10 carries.
He got 10 carries on those total. So when he's out there, they like him. But what that tells me is when he only got 12 snaps, but he's carrying on 10 of those 12 snaps, they don't trust him in any other facet of the game, which means more playing time for Allgeier, more chances for checkdowns from Mariota. So again, if I'm ranking those Falcons running backs, Allgeier over Caleb Huntley. And I think both guys are somewhat of priorities on the waiver wire, again, because for 4 weeks, no Cordero Patterson, who's been very productive. I don't think these guys are Cordero Patterson, but I do think there's value there in that Falcons run game. It is worth noting, though, at Tampa Bay, home to the Niners, at Cincinnati, home to Carolina. So it's not a great stretch there defensively. Carolina's played better defense than they get credit for. Same with the Bengals. But you don't love the matchups with Tampa Bay and San Francisco. All that said, they've been running effectively on some tough defenses. They ran on the Rams, et cetera, et cetera.
Great point about the snap usage. Allgeier was one of the best pass-protecting running backs in the entire draft last year. So I think they have full confidence to get him on the field a lot. It's just a matter of if this offense can be effective against those teams.
Right, and if they want to pass.
Yes.
You don't need to pass pro if you never pass.
7 completions last
just
week
saying.
For Mariota. Bit of an issue. All right, let's get through a couple more before we go to break here. The Saints running back Mark Ingram available in 83% of leagues. Seattle on deck. Everybody's going to love when they see Seattle on the schedule.
Yeah.
How much are you buying into that, Ingram, for at least a week?
Yeah, especially because, by the way, Latavius Murray, who filled in last week in London, now is a member of the Denver Broncos. They activated him off the practice squad for the London game against the Vikings. He goes back to the practice squad. Denver takes advantage of that, takes Latavius Murray away from the Saints. So I think the hope here is that Alvin Kamara is back for this game. But certainly, Mark Ingram, you know, he had some bad luck against the Vikings, right? He was going well, but then he got a little bit banged up. And so Latavius Murray comes in, vultures the touchdown there as Ingram's in the medical tent looking, and then towards the end, then again, stupid Taysom Hill.
Was he a thorn?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not Taysom Hill's fault, but it's one of the more frustrating players in fantasy football, Taysom Hill. But still, Mark Ingram, 13 touches, 43 yards. He led the team in snaps despite being off the field a little bit for the injury. And so with Kamara still dealing with the ribs, Ingram is somebody that should be on the waiver wire radar, especially if you have Kamara.
We know the Clyde Edwards-Helaire show has officially taken off, but Isaiah Pacheco quietly with 11-plus carries in 2 of his 4 games this year. Barry, do you think they need to be in blowout mode for him to be effective at all, or is there some reason to at least stash him?
Yeah, I don't mind stashing him again, seeing how, but given what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did, and they like Jerick McKinnon. I know McKinnon didn't play a lot in the passing, didn't need him last week because they were just blowing the Buccaneers out.
Yep.
But I like Pacheco. Runs angry.
Yes.
Runs hard.
5 yards a carry.
He runs like he's got Allen Robinson on his fantasy team. Like just mean and angry. You know what I mean? Like he's upset. That's how he runs. And so I got to be honest with you. I thought I was going to get a better reaction from that joke.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's all right. It's fine. No. I don't want a fake laugher. I want to earn him. I want to earn him. It's fine.
I'm also in time cop mode.
Yeah,
so
I understand. That's why we got to get to break.
Yes.
Real quickly, I don't think Pacheco has a role that you can use him in fantasy, especially given CEH's success last Sunday night. But I do think he is somebody. They like him there. His role is increasing, and anytime you can get a piece of the Kansas City offense, especially given Edwards-Helaire has dealt with injuries in his past, Pacheco is an interesting stash. 2 other guys, real quickly. Gus Edwards,
the Gus bus.
The Gus bus, by the way. He is designated to return off the physically unable to perform list on Monday. They have 21 days, the Ravens do, to put him onto the active roster as of this taping and filming, broadcast. They haven't done that yet. But Justice Hill did lead the game with a hamstring injury. We saw some success from J.K. Dobbins. We know they like Gus Edwards. So that's another guy to stash. In the deeper leagues, just want to point this out, my Commanders, who can't do anything. But great story, just real life-wise, we're thrilled. Brian Robinson. After, who knew if that guy was ever going to play football again?
Yeah.
After this horrific
quick return.
Quick return, he's being activated as well. We'll see how it shakes out with the Commanders, but he was the guy that was supposed to be the starter in the preseason until that shooting accident. Until the incidents feel so insignificant.
Yes.
What episode? I don't know what you
disaster.
What awful thing that happened to Brian Robinson. After that awful thing that happened to Brian Robinson, we're thrilled that he's alive, and the fact that he's come back is just a medical miracle. So we're thrilled that Brian Robinson is back in the NFL and back active for the Commanders. And so we'll see how that shakes out. But talented running back, and obviously he's going to be a part of their offense sooner rather than later. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.